we are in here. Let me just delete that particular output. Delete yar. Okay. So today we are going to solve a box called attack active directory. Okay. So let me just go to my VirtualBox and hit OK. So basically this is the active directory machine in which we going to learn about a lot of things about the active directory as well as the attack vector of that particular active directory. So what is the active directory? First we need to find out about the active directory part. So let's just search about that. So type active directory. Yeah. So basically active directory is nothing but it's a complete infrastructure in which several kind of IT company actually works. For example, under the active directory there are mainly two things which we have to encounter. First one is domain controller. It's also called as super user, or you can say is a administrator, and the other one is a normal client. For example, let's just say in a IT field, in a IT structure, there are several kind of clients available on your computer, available on your network, and there's a one domain controller which is the default gateway, which is also have the default gateway IP, which is 192.168.0.1. Okay, so that particular domain controller can access any kind of data which circulate in your network, which circulate in his network. Okay, so if the domain controller want to send some data to that particular IP, he can pretty much do that, and he also assign several kind of IPs to several kind of user. Okay, for example, let's just say the default your default gateway and subnetted 192.168.0.1. Okay, so the after that particular IP, that IP is allocated to the active domain controller. After that, all the client PCs are circulate on the 1 2 3 4 5 and so on. But keep in mind, in IPv4, which is working on a 8 bit, which is working on I think 32 bit, no sorry, which is working on a 8 bit thing. It means 2 की power 8. For example, let's just say it is equal to 256. It means that only in IPv4 there are 0 to 255 clients accessible. But we all know that in IT infrastructure there are more than 255 computer connected to us some same network. For example, if that particular situation arises, then how can the global internet work? Okay, so we have to encounter that there is another thing called IPv6, which is nothing but an enhanced version of the IPv4. For example, in IPv4 generally we use decimal number from 0 to 9. Okay, but in a IPv6 we use 0 to 9 as well as to A to Z. So basically by using this alphabet as well as the decimal combination, we have a lot of combination, lot of different kind of IPs we can allot to that particular clients. Okay, so today there's one thing also, that Active Directory actually works on this infrastructure. It means that it is that identity, and all the different kind of clients and all different kind of structure are actually allocated by this method. Okay, so in Active Directory there are, I told you how to find out about the Active Directory, and there's a one thing, how to install it. Generally Active Directory is installed pre-default into Windows Server, but you can install it by using add services. Okay, let me just how to install. Okay, let me just go to the images, and there's a feature called add rule and feature wizard in Windows Server. This feature is available in all the Windows Server. It can be 2017, it can be 2019, it can be several other upcoming Windows Server platform, because Windows actually shifted to Windows 11 from Windows 10. But the main topic of this video is to pen testing the Active Directory part. So as you can see, I am currently logging to my Kali box, and we are provided some sort of IP. Okay, which is this, and it is the Active Directory box. Okay, so in first section we have to deploy the machine, and we have to connect it by the VPN. There's plenty of method. If you are a if you are a Linux user, I am currently on a Kali Linux box. That's why I'm talking. That's why I'm give you the procedure of how to connect by using terminal. So you just have to go to that particular uh, pa- uh, pa- let me just give you how to download the VPN first. Okay, so you just go to the your profile, just go to the access one, and the access one you just have to download this configuration file, which is actually a sh file, which is stand for bash. Okay, the bash, for example, let's just say the executable file extension is .exe. As in the same way, the bash executable file is also called sh. Okay, so and you just have to start the machine, and the timer is running, so I'm just hurry up. So we are deploying the machine, we deploy the machine, and yeah, we got the IP. Yeah, okay, so we just have to copy that IP, and let's just find out that if we are connected or not. So let me just ping. So as you can see, I can ping the machine. It means that I am some sort of connected to that particular IP. Okay, so there are something which we need to find out about pinging. Okay, so what is ping? Ping is nothing but some sort of procedure in which we can connect to that particular IP which we want. For example, let's just say if I am a X client, if I am PC X and you are a PC Y. Okay, so how can we connect if we are located if we are in a same network, we can ping our IP. Okay, so if we can ping, it means that we are interconnected. We can send and receive packets. For example, let's just say let's just talk about the pinging part. So first thing first, the pinging actually uh, give on a bytes. In my case, it's a 65, 64, but there are several other bytes also. But currently, currently 64 bytes is showing in my pinging, and this is the IP of that particular box which we are pinging, and this is the ICMP. ICMP called. Let me just grab my notes and find out what is the ICMP, because I okay, let me just ICMP. What is ICMP? Or yeah, okay. So it's called Internet Control Messenger Protocol. It's nothing but to show you the sequences of your pinging your IP. Okay. For example, let's just say this is a sequence one, sequence two, sequence three. These are all these are information which you don't need to know about. The information which you are needed about is called TTL. Okay, TTL is called time to leave. There are generally two type of time TTL available in the IT. First one is close to 64 and second one is close to 128, as you can see. So close to 64 generally means that that particular IP is allocated to a window or to a Unix as and Linux kind of operating system architecture. Okay. On the other hand, the 128 TTL is generally moves to the Windows architecture. Let's just say what we get is 124. It means that it is a window box, which we generally know about that. So let me just copy this IP and paste it over here. So as you can see, it's a Windows server. It's a Windows server, and if you don't know about the Windows server, so Windows server generally, if Windows server in a Windows server the port 80 is open, port 80 is open, then there's a high chance that that particular port, which is the default port in an internet network for web server, it hosting some sort of Windows server catalog, or you can say Windows server image, just like this. So we can pretty much see that it is a Windows server. Okay. So after that, we are going to exploit that particular Windows server by using different kind of tool, just like Bloodhound and Neo4j. For installing the Bloodhound, if you are in a not Kali box, or if you are in any kind of Linux box, you just have to type this command. Come on. Arey yaar, shit. So let me just exit first. Sudo apt install Bloodhound and Neo4j. Okay, but I installed that particular file. Okay, so I don't need to install it. Let me just show you how. So it's going to see that it's already installed, so you don't need to install it. So in your case, they are going to give a prompt from Y and N, Y for yes and N for no. So you just have to type Y, and these are all these repositories. This file actually extracted from your package manager. it can be any package manager. In my case, because Kali Linux is actually a Debian one, okay, so it's a apt. If you are a if you are an Arch user, then you just have to type pacman in here, okay. uh, okay, fine. So we install Bloodhound, and now just enumerate something. So welcome to the Active Directory. So okay, we are welcoming. Okay, okay. So basically, even in it, okay. So let me just learn something. So it is helpful for not or not. Yeah. So okay, so this is the important part, which is enumeration. Enumeration is the key. Generally, most of the pen tester use this keyword, which is slightly true, because enumeration is the key. Anything you have to enumerate first, then you can exploit. Now, first you have to enumerate. So how can we enumerate? We can use and enumerate. We can pretty much use any kind of enumerating tool, just like Nmap, Zenmap, etc. For example, if we want to the if we want the Nmap, let me just adjust my scrolling setting or something. Setting, scrolling, unlimited scrolling. Yeah. Okay, fine. Let's just find out what we. This is my first video, by the way. Okay, so just have to go to the application and just have to type this command: installed nmap. So it's going to install the latest version of a nmap. I'm actually have a install. You can use this command for knowing that it is installed or not. Nmap.h, nmap-h. So what is the meaning of -h? Okay, you now want to know about that particular thing. So -h is nothing but a tag, which is a script, which is provided by the nmap itself. It's going to show you all the relevant switches we can use to learn about different kind of the different kind of thing, to do the nmap. For example, let me just go to my notes first, and let me just go to the NSE, which is called search in nmap script. Yeah. So these are the all the script which we going to use in my further videos. First one is safe. Okay, so what is safe? And so how can first thing first, how can we use that nmap script? Okay, so you have to know about that thing. So okay, just a minute. Okay, so for using this kind of script, we just have to go to the script tag, and by using this syntax, okay, tag script, and followed by the particular NSE, which is I'm going to show you in a couple of moments. No, I don't want the RDPR. So first one is safe. Safe generally we are using when the target is won't affecting, means it's connected or something else. Intrusive script generally is not very preferable in the if the target is very affected, is not likely to affect it. Okay, so basically it's not safe to use intrusive. One generally we are using for vulnerability, we are using for scanning the vulnerabilities, that if any times and any sort of possible vulnerabilities can be happen on that particular box, then they going to give me the prompt. For example, let's just say if a Windows server running Windows Server 2000 running on a host, on a domain controller, and there's a vulnerability called Eternal Blue, then these script give us the result that it's the particular Windows Server is affected to that particular exploit. Okay, so when we know about the exploit, when we know about the particular vulnerability, we can exploit by using exploit script. Okay, and the auth for authentication bypass. Okay, we are using this script to bypass the authentication. Okay, and another was called brute forcing discovery for discovery the SNMP. What is the called SNP? SNMP for simple network managing protocol. Okay, it's a network management protocol used generally for knowing about the TCP/IP network. Okay, what is the data length? What is the data length? Data length generally is a arbitrary length Okay, it's a arbitrary length. Generally, it's a random length. Signifies the packet. So yeah, but we are going to use this command for sc sv followed by the particular and hit enter. So what I use, let me just give you the brief. tech sc tech sc for using the okay, sorry, tech sv for version, tech sc for save script. So basically there are some save script in the nmap switches which we going to implement on that particular IP. So that particular switches can be applicable to that particular IP and find out the more and more information about the Windows server. And when we find out that particular service, this script is going to give us the prompt about the version of that particular script. Okay, so it's going to take some time. uh, Let me just find out that if I install or not, if I actually have that particular nmap result or not. Is I have Does I have? So okay, where are you? Try hack me write-ups. Try hack me. Nope, I don't have try hack me write-ups here. Let me just uh, active directory. No, doesn't matter. होना तो चाहिए यार. Just a minute, I'm going to see. जब तक ढूंढूंगा तब तक रिजल्ट आ जाना चाहिए. Okay, so yeah, try hack me. And the active directory, yeah, it is located under here. So the okay, just a minute. Let me just copy this out and give you the what is the output we get from that particular command. Okay, so you just use that particular command and the result is your in your phone screen. Okay, so it give me that 53 port is open. Okay, fine. Port 80 is open. Port 80, I'm just tell you about the port 80, which is this for default web server. Okay, it is actually running on port 80. If we hit enter, if we add enter by using the port 80 command, yep, we are in the port 80, which is the default web server port. Okay, so there are port 8080 also open, which is actually entitled with the Kerberos section, which means that it is a domain controller. Okay, so there are some ports which open basically in a network to find out that it's the particular IP particular window is on an active directory one or not. And if you don't find out that IP 88 TCP IP open, then you can pretty much use the TC 135 TCP and 139 TCP open, which also signifies that it is the active directory one. Okay, so 445 is open, 464 is open, yeah, 636 also open. It's called TCP wrap. I'm going to give you about that information in a. Okay, so and this is 3389. It is the most important port in a network. For example, if in a network you find this port open, then you just got a jackpot, because this port is generally used for RDP session, which is called remote desktop protocol. It means that I can pretty much access that particular device by using any kind of RDP service, RDP uh, client. For example, in Windows, the RDP client which is called remote desktop, but in Linux there is plenty of RDP client. For example, I'm using Ramina. Okay, this is called Ramina. This is a RDP client provided by the Linux community. So we have generally VNC, SSH, and RDP. RDP for remote desktop protocol, which is on port 3389. SSH for secure cell on port 22. And I'm not know about the VNC. I'm going to learn about VNC in a prior moment, but it is some sort of modified RDP, I think. Okay, so the first question: what tool we use to enumerate port 39, port 45. It is enum for Linux. Okay, let me just give you how can we use enum for Linux. uh, okay, just a minute. Go to my IP and type here enum for Linux. Okay, so enum for Linux is a tool which we use for basically find out the find out about find out about the port 139.445, which is signified that it is a Active Directory box. Okay. uh, and let me just give you that. Okay, what is the NetBIOS name of the domain name? So we have to go to that Nmap search result. Okay, so we just got to know about the what is the so basically NetBIOS domain name is nothing but a domain name which is generally used in an internal network. It is called thm.ad /ad. You just copy that out and paste it over here, and there's okay. The another question is, what invalid TLD do people commonly use in Active Directory? So what is TLD? We want to know, but what is a TLD? So let's just find out what is the TLD. Okay, TLD is top level domain. Okay, it's called top level domain. What is called domain? Just like .com, it's a domain. Yeah, .in is a domain. .nic.in is a domain. Okay, it's not nic, it's nic.in. It's a domain. There's plenty of domain which signify the actual workflow of that particular website. Okay, so in Active Directory generally we use .local. No, it's not very commonly used, because when we use in a actual network, we don't use .local. But when we use as a home network, as in some sort of secure one, just like I am doing right now, we use .local. Okay, so that's why the answer is .local, and it say that it's a invalid TLD people community use in Active Directory domain name, because it's generally used in uh, internal network, internal pen testing, or safe environment pen testing. So what is the meaning of that local? I give you the example first. Go to the command prompt, go to the your terminal, sorry, and type let me just go to the root first. Type nano etc host. It's a file type. Okay, it's a file type in which the Linux actually store all the domain information. Hit enter. So you just know about the local host, and you just know about the the Kali host. Okay, so I just have to erase this out first and copy this out in order to get you the information in a nice manner. Okay, so I copy this IP and paste it over here. Why? Because I want to assign that particular IP to some sort of domain name. For example, what is the domain name? You need to understand first. So for example, let's just say you have Aadhaar card. Okay, Aadhaar card, you have a number in Aadhaar card. Okay, let's just say the number is this. Okay, in Aadhaar server, if any person want to know about your information by using this number, he can pretty much do that. But it is not very easily to remember. Yeah. Okay, because you don't actually know your Aadhaar number pretty much often. If you don't remember any number, then there's a high chance that you actually forgot all those number which came in a prior manner. And another thing called it's called domain name. When I assign this particular IP to that particular domain name, I can ping that particular domain name as that particular IP. For example, let's just say you have a Aadhaar card, you have some sort of IP number allotted there, and you have some sort of name. Then then the Aadhaar server actually can locate you by using your potential Aadhaar number as well as your potential name. I know the name is can be duplicate, but it can be find out. Okay, it's not very uh, difficult thing to do. Control X and Y for saving it. Okay, so let me just give you that what I do. Cat etc host, copy and copy this out also. Ping. So I can ping by using this IP. I can ping by using that particular name also. Okay, so you just have to know about this thing also, which is a very good thing, I think, in my opinion. So okay, so time is running out. So yeah, so the three option is correct. Now it's time for Kerberos. Not, it's not Kerberos. Yeah, it's Kerberos. Kerberos is an authentication service in Active Directory. When this port is open, we can call it. We can call the tool called Kerberoot. It is provided by the person called Rob Knob. It is used for brute forcing the user password and the potential hashes of that particular username users. Okay, but keep in mind, to brute force these kind of attacks, you have to know the potential user as well as the potential password. Okay, so let's just get into this. Let me just go to my notes first in order to. Okay, so there's a one thing that I don't tell you about, the enum for Linux part. So how can we how can we use the enum for Linux? So for using the enum for Linux, I just have to type enum for Linux and followed by the particular IP name. Okay, so it going to give me the come on, it going to give me the copy and paste, hit enter. It's going to give me the potential username, potential password, potential what. Okay, so let me just go to my notes first in order to give me a brief information. But as you can see, it's not very good thing to do. Okay, it's not very feasible thing to do, because it's get a lot of time, as well as it's not very accurate in a pen testing environment. So there's another tool called Kerberoot. Okay, so how can we use that Kerberoot? So for using the Kerberoot, I just have to go to that. Let me just go to my notes and let's just see that it is okay. Final. Thanks a lot, because it's uh, copy and just paste. So I'm just going to give you my okay, ls, and let me just go to the desktop first. I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing. Home, desktop, come on, Kali, desktop, I think it's called desktop, and that type tools. No, it's not tools. Where I located in that, is it on download folder? Yeah, it's on download folder. So you just have to, yeah, so how can we download it? Just copy that particular link. You just prompt it to there, Kerberoot releases. Copy this AMD.64, which is called 64-bit, which is provided by the 64-bit edition of Linux, and it is 86. So you have to know about the 64 and 86 first. 64 is for 64-bit processor. 86 for 32-bit processor. Okay, it's a very confusing thing. I don't know about the reason. If you know, please give the reason about it. Give me the reason about it. So the user.num is actually for, okay, so it's not, yeah, it's called, okay, fine. So sorry. So just I have to copy this thing. So for knowing the potential user, for knowing the potential password, we going to use the a tool called Kerberoot Linux.64. So what it's going to give us the prompt, it going to give us the all the potential users can be located in that particular machine. Okay, so we are going to use this tool called Kerberoot Linux.64, and there is a syntax called usernum for finding out the user. Tac DC for provided the domain for provide the domain controller. In my case, it's spooky.local. Tag D for DNS. It's also provided the spooky.local, and there we have to give the path for the user.txt. Okay, so I thought I come on, yeah. Okay, so where is the path? So first of all, we need to find out the user first. Oh fuck. Copy. It's going to take some time. We are going to. Okay, fine. So let me just add a power first in order to, yeah, it's added. So you just have to go to the user link and the password link. Okay, I actually downloaded it, the user. So I just go to that particular um, folder and find out where I located that particular. So it is on here. Okay, so copy the location. Copy the location. Where is the Kali document? CTF try hack me active directory. Okay, is under Kali. It's in the home. Sorry, it's on the home. Kali document. Where is CTF? No, it's not VPN. Yeah, see, fuck. Try hack me and active directory. Yeah, no, it's active directory and the user.txt. Yeah, so all thing is done. We just hit enter and find out about the potential user. So these are all the potential user are going to that first is James, second is SMC admin, third one is james.spooky.local, and fourth one is robin.spooky.local. So these are all the potential user which are located in that particular user.txt. I am just opening that particular just txt, and as you can see, these are all the potential user. Okay, so but these are all the user which we find out. So okay, so they are generally two user which are more important, which are first thing first to encounter first, because they are uh, uh, need to know about first, because they are a unique one. First one is smc.admin, second one is admin itself, and there's another called which is not yet provided by the Kerberoot. It's called backup dot spooky dot. Let me just give you information about why we use sfc.admin administrator and backup on a very, let me just cut on a very important point, because sfc.admin is generally it's a unique. Okay, you in an internal network you generally find several kind of employees information, and that employee information is generally assigned by their particular name. Okay, so James is it can be employee, Robin it can be employee, and Darkstar is also employee, but it's a unrealistic name, but yeah, it can be employee. Paradox it also can be employee. sorry, but sfc.admin, it's a unique, you have to acknowledge that. Administrator, it's also unique, and the most unique thing is backup. So why I um, uh, encounter that backup first? Because all that relevant information generally are stored in the backup one. Okay, for example, let's just say if in a a domain controller, if in a active directory, if in a IT industry, some client, some user forgot that password. Okay, so that all that particular password, all that particular user password is actually stored on the backup folder. Okay, and that backup folder is this is and that backup folder is managed by this backup user. So what the domain controller use, what the admin going to use, or what SVC admin going to use, go to that particular backup folder, fetch the all the information about that particular user and the potential password of that particular user, and give to that particular user. Okay, and he can pretty much got to that his computer and hit his password provided by the admin, and he going to continue his work where he left out. So yeah, so let me just give you that what are the question. So what command Kerberoot allow us to enumerate the valid user? I'm just show you, I just show you that it is called user.enum. It's a switch basically provided by the Kerberoot that provide that potential user. Okay, so what is the notable account you discover? Okay, I told you SVC admin. What is the notable account discover that's jump at you? Means that what is the potential user? What is the potential user that you need to encounter first? First one is SVC admin, and second one is backup. Why I don't put the administrative? Because keep in mind that in network, in our active directory, in our domain controller system, you just can't go to by washing your face and just go to the administrator user. Okay, you can't, because it is a superior user. So there are possibility that there are possibility that it's a super secure user, and they have several hurdles, several hindrance you have to face in order to get that particular user. So the best thing generally people give us, that you just have to go to that low level user, find out the vulnerabilities, find out the different path in order to access that particular administrative user. Okay, so I think enumerating part by Kerberoot is cover. Now it's time for abusing the Kerberoot. So for abusing the Kerberoot na, so okay, let me just give you. Okay, so for abusing the Kerberoot, there's a tool called Impacket. There's a tool called Impacket. Just go to the particular link. It's a GitHub. Okay, copy and git clone. First you need to install git first. So for using git, for installing the git, you just have to type sudo. No, I'm on root, so I don't need sudo install git, and the git is installed. I don't need to install because I have git install in my computer. Come on, man. Okay, so let's just find out that enum. No, it's not in here. Where is that? Where is this tool is actually located? Okay, let me just give me a moment first for finding out where is the particular. Yeah, it's on desktop. So I just go to the desktop first. So just keep the procedure. Okay, so I enter in the folder called Impacket, which I cloned from that git clone repository, and yeah, it's Impacket. Going to the example and find out all the Python programs, Python tools. So why I'm using command prompt. Sorry, it's not a command prompt, it's a terminal. Okay, I am in a Linux. Keep in mind, Saurav, I am in a Linux. Okay, so in packet, I just go to the in packet and go to the examples directory and hit list out all the content which are located in the example directory. Okay, so there are several kind of Python program, but we need to encounter the what it's get nppy user. Yeah, it's called get nppy user. Just locate. Yeah, is it get nppy user? For using this thing, na, for using this thing, um, there's a there's a tool. There's a get nppy user. Let me just find notes about that. Get np in packet. Yeah, it's on in packet. So copy this entire thing, paste it over here. Okay, so I don't need sudo. Yeah, I'm in a root. So Python 3, I use Python 3 because it's a Python program. Okay, it's a Python program. DCIP for provide the domain control IP, which is this. Okay, spooky.local for domain itself. User.file at basically it's you have to give the entire user .txt, but keep in mind that why we are going to use that, why we need to use that for retrieving the Kerberos ticket. If if uh, um, if any user don't have Kerberos ticket in it, means that that particular user hash type is not pre-authenticate. It can be leaked by this tool. Okay, hit enter. So let me just let's just wait for finding out what the procedure going to do. So as you can see, we encounter something. So basically James doesn't require authentication. So yeah, okay, fine. So it means that the pre-auth ticket is actually secured, and that on the James user we cannot brute force it by blindly by using user.txt and password.txt. So yeah, we need to wait. So we need to wait, yeah. Okay, we need to wait. Okay, so no. Okay, so I think come on, man, आगे बढ़ो भैया. Sorry. Is it I type the IP in a, yeah, I type the IP and the entire thing in a, yeah, bingo. All thing is done. So so the SVC admin, this user have a pre-auth token. It means that it can be their potential hash can be wiped out, or you can say break out if we use this this get np user.py located under the impacket repository. Okay, so what is the hash? What is the hash? Hash is entire this thing. Okay, has this entire this thing, but we need to locate this thing first. Copy. So uh, uh, the first question is, we have two user account which can potentially query ticket account. First one is SVC admin, but and another one is backup, but you don't need to done that. SVC admin is more enough. You hit correct answer, and it going to prompt it to correct action. And the another thing is, looking at the Hashcat example. Hashcat is, what is the Hashcat? Hashcat is a tool for cracking the different kind of hacks. Okay, I'm going to give you the information about that also. So what type of code root hash did we retrieve one? So how can we find out about that particular hash type? So there is a hint, and there is a link which provided by the TryHackMe. Open that link. अबे यार. Okay, so कोई बात. Copy. Nope. Just a minute. Just a minute. I know I'm making this thing. Okay, so where is that particular hashcat vp.ico.xd example hashes? Yeah, copy, paste it over here. So basically these are all the example hashes. These are all the potential hashes which are actually in a IT field, in a information technology, in a domain. Okay, so we have some hash. We have some hash. What is the hash? Let me just go to my clipboard and copy this hash and find it over here. So these hash, we find out these hash. And what is the hash type? Hash type is this. Okay, hash type is this. Copy this thing entire, copy this entire thing. So what is the meaning of that? So basically you just need you need the hash name and the hash mode. Why we need the hash name and hash mode? Because to cracking that particular hash, you only need two things to know about. Okay, first one is hash mode, and second thing is hash name itself. No, you don't need the hash name, but you need the hash mode, because Hashcat can understand the hash mode, which is uh, the hash name is this, and hash mode is this 18200. We provide the hash name and the hash mode. Now for cracking that particular hash, what you have to do, you just copy the entire thing, go to the your particular thing, and I actually okay, so just paste it over here, and keep in mind that when you paste that particular hash in a text file, keep in mind that you use .has as it extension. Why? Because just like any executable file, the extension is .exe. Okay, any Debian package, the extension is .dab. Just like any hashes file extension is .has. And why we need the HAS? Because we need to crack it, yeah. Okay. So for cracking it, I just go to my notes, and let me just give you a brief understanding about the different kind of modes in Hashcat. So Hashcat is basically is a tool which we use for cracking that particular hash. Okay, let's just say I use mode 18,200. It's a curve root hash which we provided. Yeah, it's a curve root hash. Okay, fine. So basically, when that Hashcat is fetching that hash and applying that particular hash name by its hash type, we actually using Hashcat to entitle with that particular mode, and using that particular password text, and attacking that password text attacking that potential password located on the password.txt on the particular hash file. Okay, so keep in mind that when we cracking those hash, we need to keep remember two things first in an important manner. First one is the mode. There are several kind of modes for several kind of hash. So in a network pen testing, na, in a internal network pen testing, you need to encounter with lot of NTLM hash, and its mode is 1000. So what is the NTLM hash? NTLM hash is called new technology. Let me just give you the what is called NTLM hash. I don't know about the full acronym for that. It's yeah, it's called Window New Technology LAN Manager. Okay, fine. NTLM hash. Okay, so it's a NTLM hash. Okay, fine. We understand it's a NTLM hash. NTLM hash. What is NTLM hash? NTLM hash is nothing but a new technology hash which provided by the Microsoft company itself, and that particular hash type as actually works to store your potential user. For example, let's just say you enter your password. Let's just say your password is. Let me just plug in my computer first. Okay, let's just say your password is A. Okay, let's just say your password is A, and you converted this hash into NTLM hash. So how can we convert this? So hash generator NTLM. So this is a program to generate NTLM hash. Okay, there are several kind of other hash also, just like MD5, SH2, SH256. For example, your password is H. Generate, yeah. Okay, so the output is this. So it means that if you have a password A, then your computer, your Windows operating system store this hash as its has data. It's not going to store your password as in plain text, as an A B C D. No, it's actually store your password as in a hash manner. So when you use A as your password, then it goes to that particular hash file and compare that particular hash type by the stored hash file. If your input hash type is actually equal to the store hash file, you're going to log into your machine, and if it's not, it's going to give you the another chance for login attempt, and it give you the prompt called incorrect login password. Okay, so and you have to know that where is the hash actually stored. I want to know about that. So where is the SAM file located? Okay, so the SAM file is called security account manager. It's a program under the registry, or you can say regedit 32.exe. These registry editor, these SAM registry editor store all your potential hashes of your user. It can be administrative, it can be your user, it can be another user just like guest. Okay, so we are going to crack the hash by using Hashcat. I just going to copy this thing, go to my copy this thing, copies this entire thing. Okay, so we are going to use Hashcat tag force tag m. For force means that if any kind of USC authentication is arise, it's going to bypass that. Tag m for mode, tag a for, I don't know about the A. Let me just find out what is the A. has cat tag a. Come on, man. Has cat tag a. Tag a. Acha, it's for ambiguous possibility. Yeah. Okay. Okay. No, it's not ambiguous. Okay. Yeah. Come on. Paste. So hascat tag force for bypassing the any kind of authentication, tag m for mode, and tag a for attacking vector. Okay, and the hash file. What is the hash file? We have to provide the hash file first. So the hash file is this spooky.hash. Copy. No, I'm not going to copy this here as a show home Kali document CTF try hack me active directory and spooky.hash. Okay, and where's the password? Home Kali document CTF try hack me fuck active directory and yeah, this is password. Hit enter. Okay, so I think something is not correct. So started and stopped. So display. Just a minute. I think something is just a minute.